Hello, I'm Mantastic'c and Fantastic, and today I'm going to talk about the Illusionary artists that have just arrived in North America. So, this is a brand new rare egg machine or series of cards. It's not a true rare egg machine because it has a similar system akin to like the Sin Dragon Key Heroes or Mystic Inspectors in the sense that these artist or event cards, is what I'll be referring to them throughout the video, are appearing alongside of the regular rare egg machine. They're just kind of all shoved in alongside, which means it costs only 5 magic stones to roll, but there's a strong likelihood you're not going to roll an event card. In fact, there's only a 27% chance to get any of the artist cards, and 11.25% chance for any Godfest exclusive. So putting the two together, because I'm going to assume that any artist and any Godfest exclusive is a good roll, you're going to have a 38.25% chance, which is actually pretty good for 5 magic stones. And with that in mind, I would be quite inclined to spend like 10, maybe 15 rolls in this event. I really wouldn't push too much more because we do have the 20 Magic Stones Super Godfest coming soon, which is guaranteed to give you a 7 or 8 star Godfest exclusive, so you're guaranteed to get something of value, I'd say. And artists, while there are some strong cards, a lot of them could feel maybe highly situational, may not necessarily benefit yourself. And for the top rarity cards, they are all strong leaders, but they all have possibly challenging playstyles, especially the rainbow one, which I'll mention why momentarily. But point of the matter is, I think this event is definitely worth some rolls because you cannot monster exchange for any of the cards available. You could, in theory, buy the 7-star bundle, but you're not guaranteed to get the one you actually want. So if you want to get these artist cards, you actually have to roll, which obviously can be a little bit frustrating. But with that being said, let us take a look at the cards individually to give you, ladies and gentlemen, a better idea as to why it might be worth rolling it and what you could possibly do with those cards when you do acquire them. So, before I actually talk about the artist cards, I want to draw your attention to Rafine, or Rafine. But this is going to be the new 8-star Godfest exclusive, which will be coming to North America soon. It's not here yet, it's coming soon. But this was part of the 10th anniversary event for JP, which means there was a medal, which means you could monster exchange for them. So when this card does go live in North America, I don't see any reason why this would not come with the monster exchange medal alongside of it. So that means all players can, in theory, acquire this card through monster exchanging. And this is important because it's going to be one of the key pieces to rainbow teams. So they're a multi-step transforming card. And in their base form, it only takes 15 to transform, which you're going to do anyways. And then when you do transform for the first time, you get a single spinner. And this is important for rainbow teams because when you think about it, spinners guarantee you activation. If you need specific certain orbs, you can spin them out, assuming you have enough movement time. Once transformed, they have reasonable personal damage, and then that spinner is still lasting because it's 15 turn duration. And then there is another 15 turn transformation, but they do have a single skill charge, which means it could be potentially 8 turns if you're fortunate enough, so you'll get to that second transform state. So this card can be used as a leader or as a sub, is something I want to stress. But it's going to be obviously a bit challenging as a leader because you have to find ways to safely transform in this awkward transitionary period. But as a sub, you're perfectly okay with that. And then once you're transformed for the final time, they have massive amounts of personal damage. They have 4 attribute awakenings and a single god killer. So against god type spawns, their sub attribute will be dealing probably damage cap. Their main attribute, I'm quite confident, will be damage capping reasonably well. And then their active skill has a 3-turn cooldown with no skill charge, so be mindful that it's only a 3-turn cooldown, but it's actually okay because this active skill creates 1 spinner that changes every second for 4 turns. So you have more than 100% uptime on this spinner. So even if the opposing spawn makes spinners, which cancels your other spinner out, well, there's a new spinner. Point is, you want spinners for a lot of rainbow gameplay, especially when I talk about the artist card coming up. And then for 4 turns, you get 2 times movement time. Movement time is the most valuable thing for spinners because it allows you to fish out the specific orbs you want to do. And then you also get 4 turns of 2 times attack for all subs. So it's going to help ensure your subs deal meaningful amounts of damage, especially if they're using a sub. Their damage now becomes quite meaningful overall. You also have the spinners and the movement time to fish orbs out. And like I said, this card will be monster exchangeable, which means you can all acquire them, and they're going to be a big deal for your rainbow teams. And just remember all the things I talked about right now, because when I talk about the first 7-star card, Atelie, she is an incredibly strong rainbow leader with lots of hurdles and requirements. So They only need to transform a single time, and this applies to all of the artist cards. All the artist cards are actually just one transformation step, so that means you can't double damage cap them, you don't need a super level limit break them, super awakenings, etc, etc. So in theory, they require a little less resources to invest in, which is, I guess, a nice bonus in itself. But Atelie, in their pre-transformed state, like all the other 7-star cards, they have a unique active skill as that when they transform after their 28 turns, all of them will become your team leader. So you enter the dungeon with them as a sub, and then they swap in and become your team leader. This has many applications. The first is you want to use 7x6. 7x6 makes, in theory, every type of team function better when you think about it. 12 more orbs, up to 4 more potential combos, much easier to avoid orb troll, much easier to hit higher amounts of combos. Life is just easier on a bigger board with enough movement time. So you want to enter the dungeon with any of these cards on 7x6 and then swap them into position after 28 turns. And then once Atelie is swapped into position, they become an incredibly strong rainbow leader with an incredibly high skill cap. And this is where Rafine will be coming in handy, because that spinner with the double movement time is going to help ensure you're able to activate. So her active skill is a 3-turn cooldown. So in terms of team building, you would have one of these as a sub, and then you swap them in when the 28 turns have arrived, and then you're paired with a friend as a leader. And then that means you have 2 out of 3 turn uptime on this active skill. And that's perfectly fine. You don't need to have 100% uptime here. And this active skill gives you 1 turn of void, damage void, which is important because it allows all of your subs or non-transforming cards who can be double damage capped to take double damage cap. Taking the VDP latent obviously works well. You still get 1.5 times bonus, but 2 times is more. And if you don't actually care about the void penetration effect of the latent because of this active skill, you might as well go double damage capping. So the active skill right away solves one of the bigger problems for rainbow teams. And in addition to that, you get to unlock the full board and then create exactly 4 fire, water, wood, light, dark, and heal over any orb. So you're guaranteed to have at least 4 of each type of element, which is meaningful because if we look at her leader skill, it's pretty wild and crazy. Her leader skill gives you bonus 2 combos of matching 6 or more colors, which means you have to match all 5 colors and hearts, and doing so will give you the bonus combos. And you also get a monstrous amount of damage reduction, 75% per leader when matching 6 or more colors / elements. So you have to match all 5 colors and hearts every single turn. That's why the spinners is a big deal. You're guaranteed to at least activate your damage reduction. And then on top of this, your leader skill gives you 1.6 times attack and 8 million auto follow-up attack damage for every match of exactly 4 connected orbs. So every single TPA you match, it gives you a scaling multiplier. You actually don't even have an attack multiplier unless you match a TPA. And this stacks, kind of like the cross leaders we've seen like Phyllis. The more crosses you make, the more damage you go up. And with Atelie, you have to match TPAs, because if you match just 1 TPA, you get like 2.56 times damage. What? That's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. And if you match 7 TPAs, you have 720 times attack multiplier. That becomes respectable, but at the same time, if you don't have enough buffs, you don't have that great damage across the team, you are Rainbow, you may not deal enough damage with only 7 TPAs. 720 times attack is high for sure, but remember, the Submarines, Royal Oak, etc., they have an active skill that's buffing their attack, so even their lower attack multiplier is compensated, they tend to be more concentrated damage. Rainbow is a bit more sparse and sporadic, so you need to really match 8 TPAs, I honestly feel, or more, and then your damage goes crazy, because 720 times 2.56, you have a monstrously large attack multiplier. Anything above 8 TPAs is just going to be overkill at that point. But point of the matter is, it's a hard leader to play. Like, even on 7x6, matching 8 or more TPAs is a pain. And at the same time, not matching 8 or more TPAs, you probably do insignificant amounts of damage, which can be problematic. Or maybe you just do so little you push them into execute and get executed. That is a problem there. If you fail to match all 5 colors plus hearts, you also die because you have no health multiplier. This is an extremely feast or famine leader. It's kind of like Mikage, but pushed up to the next level. And it's going to be a challenging playstyle to actually utilize. And before you do roll hard and like chase these cards, what I would suggest is go into Pad DB, build yourself a dream team on 7x6, give yourself lots of movement time, put on that spinner, and see if you can actually make TPAs on the regular basis. it's going to be a challenge. In all honesty, it is going to be challenging, and that is obviously going to be problematic. Like, we have been spoiled to a certain extent of, like, Royal Oak and Nautilus of how brain dead they were. It's like, oh, I have active skills that make the orbs I need. Oh, just blob them together. Life is easy. This takes quite a bit of skill, lots of dexterity, and it's going to be challenging to do so. And a good news is, Melvin, or Chip, who's one of my real-life friends, he's going to be coming over on Sunday to showcase some gameplay, because he actually rolled this event and actually acquired one, and he will play and actually showcase how they function. It should be a glorious time, and I'll hopefully have videos of him at least clearing stuff, or at least failing to see gameplay footage on Sunday. So, incredibly strong leader, but incredibly difficult to play at the same time. Next is Prim, and Prim is also another strong leader. And again, that same leader swapping aspect, so you want to actually play on 7x6. And Prim can also be a viable pairing for Seawolf teams. Like, if you don't have a Seawolf, you rolled Prim, you could pair with a friend's Seawolf. It does work. But Prim, once they leader swap into position, have strong personal damage of many 10 combos and Ls. And these Ls are a bit redundant to a certain extent, in the sense that, well, you don't need that many most of the time, because they are transforming. They can't, like, get double damage cap. They already have double 10 combo. They're already dealing meaningful amounts of personal damage, but that's just a small little nitpick. For their active skill, it's a 3-turn cooldown. So with double Prim, or at least Prim Seawolf, you have almost 100% uptime on your active skill. And this active skill gives you 1 turn of Void, Damage Void, and unlocks the board, plus changes light to water, dark to fire. Meaningful orb changer all around. You get the orbs necessary for Seawolf and their own leader skill activation. And Prim's leader skill is also incredibly durable. Like, these artists have huge bulk. Like, anytime you see 16 times effective health, you know you've got a tanky leader. So that automatically makes them strong. And due to the fact that they have extremely high damage reduction components, means that gravity-based attacks are not as problematic for them. Then you get 1 true damage for matching 12 or more combos. So this is why you want 7x6. It's going to be hard to hit 12 or more combos without 7x6. You have 5 times attack and reduce damage by 75% reduction when 12 or more combos. So hit big combos. So that means stalling is not going to happen, in all honesty. You're just not going to be able to stall. You also get a bonus attack multiplier and increases combos by 1 for every exact match of 5 or more connected fire or water orbs. So those Ls in theory do work, but it's obviously a bit excessive at that point. Maybe other diverse awakenings could have been cooler, but it's perfectly fine. So you need to match lots of Ls, or at least blobs, or like weird combinations of 5 matches in order to get your leader skill to be meaningful amounts of damage. And this is why you want to play on 7x6. So again, strong multipliers, strong active skill, solves void damage. You don't need to bring VDP subs, so just pure 10 combo cards are going to work exceptionally well on your Prim teams. So Prim is, again, another strong leader. Not the same tier as Seawolf for sure. I feel Seawolf is definitely stronger overall, but powerful leader nevertheless. Again, rolling them would obviously be wonderful to have. And then, like, they do have strong weapon assists. Like, if you can't utilize Prim as a leader effectively, double team HP, double L. Not a bad aspect overall. And it also gives you 50% damage reduction for 4 turns, bonus attack multiplier for subs, and then 4 turns of Void, Damage Void. It's a pretty cool weapon assist overall. So, like, if I did roll Prim, I probably would convert them to a weapon, which is going to be the case for the vast majority of cards. It's only Atelie I probably wouldn't convert to a weapon automatically. For Kaishu, they are another strong leader-swapping 7x6 style card. And then after the 28 turns have elapsed, you swap in and you are a 7x6 board and you have cool stuff. So they have a 10 combo and 5 TPA awakenings. So remember, because they are immune to leader swap mechanics, because once you swap your own leader in, you're going to be safe from them swapping you. You can use other things, like maybe you want SDRs, maybe you want unmatchable latent, because unmatchable latent does technically work on this card as well, because 5 TPAs will clear lots of unmatchable on a regular basis. And then their active skill gives you a 3-turn cooldown and then 1 turn of Void, Damage Void. We like this stuff on Daytona teams, or like we know from Daytona teams where you're TPA heavy, you need to have Void, Damage Void. This card can't be a sub on Daytona teams because transforming them makes them your leader. Just keep that in mind. So, Void, Damage Void on a 3-turn cooldown. You also unlock the board and change fire to light, wood to dark orbs. And then their leader skill is, again, that scaling unique multiplier. They give you 1 bonus damage matching 14 or more combos. Holy fish, so many combos. 7x6 helps. 3 times attack and reduce damage by 75% when matching 14 or more combos. So again, make sure you hit all your combos. Stalling is not going to happen. And then you also get 1.5 times attack per and bonus 1 combo per leader when matching exactly 4 connected light or dark orbs. So every light or dark TPA, which you should have lots of on the board with their active skill, is going to give you many, many more combos and much higher attack multiplier. Your attack multiplier can go incredibly high with this leader, of course, with that in mind. So this is, again, a strong leader on 7x6. But when you think about it, Gung-Ho likes to release strong leaders that are great at the time and then release mechanics that counter them completely. And these leaders all feature one notable drawback, and that is, actually 2, I should say. First is you have to play on 7x6, and Gung-Ho can release dungeons where you play on 7x6 and you just get punished so hard that it makes it impossible to play. That can definitely happen in the future. In addition to that, you also are forced, they are leader swapped into position. And when your leader swapped into position, you are immune to leader swap mechanics, but at the same time, those spawns that would have leader swapped you oftentimes will do something else if they cannot leader swap you. And maybe that something else is just completely outright execute you, or put up other mechanics that you couldn't build around. Like, just, Gung-Ho will find ways to completely counter these leaders. And I feel like just because of these 2 aspects, they have such strong potential to get shut down so hard, because we have seen Gung-Ho release heavy 7x6 punishments, and they might even release leader swap punishments to the extent that, like, it just becomes nearly impossible to get through the dungeon because you just made your life so much harder. So they are strong leaders. Atelie is definitely the best of the 3, especially when we get Rafine, when we can have incredibly strong rainbow-based teams. But again, it's going to be a hard playstyle to master and utilize, and one tiny mistake will end your run instantly. And now we look at the 6-star cards. And the 6-star cards, by comparison, are much more underwhelming, unfortunately. But again, everything transforms. Everything does have weapon assists. So for the first one, Elio, their active skill is 2 turns of haste on an 18-turn cooldown with 2 skill boosts. So 4 effective skill boosts, not a bad sub right away in that aspect there. And then when they do transform, double 10 combo, VDP, tape, Rose, Dragon Killer, offensive galore, can't double damage cap, unfortunately. I wish this was a red sub attribute, but it's okay. Then the active skill is 1 turn of void, damage void. It's kind of weird. You already have a VDP, but you can void damage void. If that was something else, that would have been a bit nicer for sure. And then you remove all awoken skill binds. So, interesting ways to utilize this card. Pop is oftentimes utilized as a sub on fire teams because Pop clears unmatchable, has a little shield, or Wedding Trailer. There are quite a few cards that only clear unmatchable. Elio only clears awoken binds. In theory, if you have both of them on the team, you counter those mechanics. So, depending on the team you're playing through, you don't have to match VDPs now. Like, you save on that box. Seawolf teams would prefer not to match VDP probably because matching more combos takes advantage of the enhanced fire and water combo awakenings. Gives you a bit of flexibility there. I don't think it's a bad card to bring by any means. Elio, again, it can be your cleric that does deal meaningful amounts of damage. And the fact that they do haste with their transform means they're not a liability to bring on your given team. And their team cost is also quite low. So again, in rogue dungeons where you're leveling up, they will level up quite quickly. So it might be something to consider if you do roll them for your Colosseums teams. For Chloe has 2 skill boosts as well, and then 2 turns is 50% damage reduction. I don't think 50% damage reduction is necessarily going to save you enough times, but maybe it will, so maybe you can argue it's 4 effective skill boosts, but haste is just better overall. For their transform state, they have super blind resist, they have some crosses, they have 10 combo enhanced water combos. Their active skill gives you bonus damage based on the number of water combos, enhanced water combos on your team, and then change wood and light orbs to water on a 2-turn cooldown. So it's a nice way to generate lots of water orbs. Where can we utilize this card effectively? I don't think there's any great place to truly utilize this card, unfortunately. So maybe if there's like a great water cross leader in the future, they might become meaningful then. But again, most leaders tend to come with their own active skill that solves problems. You could argue that with this leader's skill, like maybe they'd be an okay leader, but I don't think it's going to be that worthwhile. Like it's a lot of effort, I feel, like making just exactly water crosses. You only get 2 water crosses on a 6x5 board. It's going to be difficult to play overall, I feel. And then for their weapon assist, did I look at the red guys? No, I didn't look at Elio's. Elio's weapon assist is Bind Immune, 60% Jammers L. I like this weapon assist just from an Awakenings point of view. Good to slap on your Bind Vulnerable cards and like your Bind Vulnerable transforming cards, so it never charges up, has useful Awakenings, and then it gives you, if it does charge up, it's movement time buff and void, damage, void, and a spinner. Not terrible, but still meaningful overall. And then for Chloe's weapon, double team HP, 40% blind, 20% jam resist. Not bad from just an Awakenings point of view. Sometimes you need those resists, and this is a nice way to slot it in with some team HPs. And then the active skill is 2 turns of 75% damage reduction, 2 turns of attribute absorption cancellation, unlocks the board and changes the board to water, dark, and heart. So not a bad active skill for your water and dark teams. It definitely can be a meaningful active skill if it does overcharge. Shields are helpful in basically every single dungeon at this point in time. So these weapons are still not bad. I would like to have like 1 copy of all these weapons. So that's why it is, I think, worthwhile rolling a few times. But Hands is not someone I would convert into weapon. Hands is a great Daytona sub. So they have 3 skill boosts and then 1 turn of haste. So 4 effective skill boosts. Not bad overall. And then when they do transform, Hands has super poison resist. Nice. A 10 combo and 4 TPAs with a single machine killer. Certain dungeons like MD2 have machine spawns at the end, so Hands will be dealing more meaningful damage, but at the same time, it's not that necessary. He's going to be damage capping with relative ease. A 10 combo, 4 TPAs on Daytona team with big spikes, yeah, you're going to be capping no problem. And he's transforming, so you can't double damage cap unlike Halloween Gottens. And the water sub-attribute does nothing for the team. Daytona teams remove water orbs. Those water orbs are not going to be contributing. His sub-attribute doesn't contribute. It makes him a less ideal candidate for the unmatchable Latent, because if light becomes unmatchable, good chance you don't have 4 water orbs potentially. Like, Hands doesn't function that well. So like, Hands does work well in terms of like slotting in for like resists and skill boosts and personal damage if you don't need a double damage cap, but it's the active skill that makes him quite meaningful. You get 1 turn of attribute absorption cancellation, which is great. In MD2, that attribute absorption does counter the Paimon spawn. Just chip it down if you're dark sub-attributes, and then you do this, and then you kill. And then you also get 1 turn of void, damage void, which is what you need for Daytona teams. You need to ignore damage void completely. And when you do so, your life becomes easier, because then you can smash through those void spawns. And then you change wood to light orbs, and that's great. It doesn't compete with Daytona's active skill, so you have another way to make extra light orbs. Not bad overall. Hands is definitely a strong light sub for your Daytona teams. Definitely meaningful overall. And if you don't have a Daytona, you might find some value in their weapon. Like, it's Bind Immune, Team HP, Team RSV, a single poison resist. Not bad to slap on top of your transforming cards who are bind vulnerable. The active skill gives you 3 turns of attribute absorption and damage absorption for 3 turns. Not bad. And then 50% damage reduction for 3 turns. So pretty nice pretty nice active skill overall, but again, much stronger as a sub for your Daytona teams, especially if you don't have your own Halloween Cotton Army. Next card is Melty, and Melty will melt your heart potentially. They're actually an incredibly strong rainbow sub. So they give 3 turns of delay on 25 turn cooldown when they transform with 2 skill boosts. So remember, your Atelie has 28 turns. So if you're a transforming card that's quite long, or you need multi-step transforming, this delay can definitely be meaningful. It could be up to 5 effective skill boosts. And when Melty does transform, super poison resist, skill charge, 3 times 4 attribute awakenings across in a god killer. So meaningful amounts of personal damage, but again, main attribute will definitely cap against god type spawns. Sub attribute will also do meaningful amounts as well. And their active skill is what makes them an incredible sub. It's a 10 turn cooldown, but remember, with skill charge, you can half that down to 5. So you have 100% uptime on this active skill, because the active skill is for 6 turns. You have an attack buff for each 4 color attribute awakening on a given team. It's going to be your attack buff for your entire team, and this is what rainbow teams were lacking. Atelie doesn't have an attack buff for anyone. And Rafine only buffed subs, and I believe when you only buff subs, it doesn't conflict with this active skill that buffs everyone's attack. So this is a looping attack buff, and that's something that's meaningful. Obviously, it's not as great as one every single turn because it could be overwritten by certain spawns, so you might have to time this a little bit more intelligently, potentially. But the point of the matter is, it's a strong active skill for your rainbow-based teams because you need this attack buff on a regular basis. And with enough board changes, you have enough ways to generate orbs. Rainbow teams should be perfectly fine functioning with just a card who only provides attack buff. And their active skills are, like, their awakenings are helpful. Poison resist is nice. And then if for some reason you don't have any rainbow-based teams, the weapon assist is kind of unique. Bind immune, cross awakening, 2 recover binds can be a cool way to give the way of have roulette spinner clearing if you don't like spinners on a given card, but you get 3 turns of void damage effects. So you pierce through VDPs, which is kind of cool, and then 1 turn of 100% damage reduction. It's unique in a sense, but I would honestly be much more inclined to keep them in their transforming state in order to take advantage of them for your rainbow-based teams. Next is Atelie, and Atelie has 3 skill boosts in her pre-transformed state, and then 2 turns of 75% damage reduction. 75% damage reduction is probably going to be enough to keep you alive, I feel, in most cases, so you could be 5 effective skill boosts potentially. And then when she is transformed, nice awakening, super poisonous, double 10 combo, VDP, 2 fire rose, and a god killer. I honestly feel like that was like one of the other cards here that's pretty similar when you think about it, like incredibly similar awakenings. It almost is like they copy pasted it, but that's okay. They do a little bit different overall. Instead of tape, it's super poison resist. God killer instead of dragon. And then their active skill is a 4-turn cooldown that gives you an unlock, changes water to fire, and 1 turn of changing the enemy's attribute to wood. So for Seawolf teams, this is not going to be that helpful. You need water orbs to survive. Maybe if your board is set up in such a way that you use Atelie first, then Seawolf afterwards, maybe you could be okay, but it's a unique active skill in the sense that you are able to change the enemy's attribute to wood. So fire teams do double damage against wood. So if the spawn was water to begin with, you would have been dealing half damage. Now you're dealing 2 times damage. That's a 4 times damage increase essentially. It can be meaningful in the right situation. It's unique, but again, highly situational overall, and it doesn't help Seawolf teams that much. So I think it's pretty cool, but maybe you'll find a bit more value in their weapon assist. Skill boost to double enhanced fire combos, team RCVs. Not bad awakening. These are pretty nice awakenings to have sometimes. Like sometimes you just want to slot these things in. And then the active skill on a 16-turn cooldown is 3 turns of RCV buffing, bypassing damage absorption effects, so Fujin cancellation, and 3 turns of changing the enemy's attribute to wood. So you're basically guaranteed to turn that damage absorption countered spawn into wood, and guaranteeing yourself big amounts of damage. Again, even if it's just for the Fujin aspect, the team RCVs is meaningful, because once you have enough effective health to tank the largest reasonable hit, the most important thing becomes recovery. And more recovery is good. More is more. So this weapon assist, I think, is definitely what the form I would pursue. Like most of the 6-star cards, weapon assists are going to be their preferred form aside from Hands and Melty, because they have strong usages as subs. For Ren has 2 skill boosts and then 1 turn of 100% damage reduction, so you're guaranteed not to die for that 1 turn. Pretty cool. And then when they transform, they have 4 times 4 attribute awakenings, so large amounts of personal damage for rainbow teams. And is the active skill helpful? Do they have skill charge? Yes, they do. So now it's an 8/4 turn cooldown. It gives you 2 turns of reduced damage taken by 50%. So a shield, not bad. You always need shields in most dungeons. Unlocks the board and changes all orbs to all elements. So if you need a shielding active skill for your rainbow teams, not a bad choice overall, but I feel like you probably could find stronger options all around, in all honesty. Like, I would probably just want to slap on Susanoo instead, because Susanoo is a little cooler overall. Better when you're trying to transform, stronger shield active anyways. For Ren's pen tablet or weapon assist, you get a skill boost, team HP, double jam resist. Pretty cool awakenings in that sense. Like, not bad. And then 15-turn cooldown gives you 5 times attack for, 5 turns of 1.5 times attack for subs, and then 5 turns of 50% damage reduction. There is lots of content, such as, like, say, Valkyrie Seals Descended, where you want long-lasting damage reduction shields. These types of active skills can be meaningful there. It does give you a bit of bulk with the team HP, so, like, I feel like I would definitely pursue their weapon assist as opposed to their base form. For Rikuto. They have 2 skill boosts in their base form. Gives you 1 turn haste. Not bad, not terrible. And then they have, when they're transformed, 7 combo, 10 combo, VDP, super blind resist, and then an attacker, physical, and healer killer awakening. I'm still not a big fan of healer killers, I'm a big fan of killer awakenings, even though they are buffed a little bit. And at the same time, like, it's probably not really necessary. Like, you already have quite strong personal damage with 7, 10, and VDP, so you do already big damage. Like, and killers kind of just eat into other awakenings that could have possibly helped you out. But looking at the active skill on a 2-turn cooldown, you have 1 turn of no skyfalls, and then wood orbs are much more likely to appear. And then you replace the whole board. So it's a way to deal with locked orbs or bad problematic boards with hazards, etc. And you refresh the board into something with lots more wood orbs and whatever it drops down. But point of the matter is, it could be possibly useful, but I think it's highly situational. They're just stronger wood cards out there in all honesty. And then the weapon assist is probably where it might be at. You get a bind immunity, team HP, and a single balanced killer. Pretty, like, they're interesting awakenings. Like, maybe not like the most die-hard awakenings you must have, but they're interesting in the sense that we don't have things that do exactly this. And then on a 17-turn cooldown, you get 5 turns of attribute absorption cancellation and 5 turns of RCV buffing and attack buffing. If you need lots of attribute cancellation, maybe this can be useful, or maybe you just want to use it for the weapon just to like take advantage of the awakenings. Hard to say. It's kind of a little awkward overall. And then finally we come to the last 6-star card in this event is Pastel. And then Pastel has 2 skill boosts and then gives you 100% heal when they transform. 100% healing doesn't keep you alive necessarily. Shielding, hasting tends to help you transform better, but hey, it's okay. And then when she does transform, she has a healing solution for rainbow teams with a 1-turn cooldown. So 1-turn cooldown means you can inherit anything you want over top of it, and it probably can solve your problems, and it will come up on a regular basis. But if you do use the active skill for itself, it changes hazards into hard orbs and then an RCV buff. Situationally, it might be helpful. Fast charging RCV buff and easy to inherit any type of active skill over top of it. I think Pastel is just a situational card overall, which is kind of this, like, the theme for the 6-star cards. Because out of the 6-star cards, Melty is a wonderful rainbow sub, and Hands is a wonderful Daytona sub, and obviously all the 7-star cards are strong. But remember, you have to be mindful of the fact that it is only 27% chance to get any of the artist cards, but then you do have an 11.25 chance for any Godfest exclusive. So, in summary, I feel that it is worth rolling in at least maybe 10 to 15 times. That's 50 to 75 stones. That's not that bad when you think about it. We've probably gained more than that. We've gained more than that number of stones just in the month of March alone. We've probably gained much more than that. So we are getting lots of magic stones, but when you are budgeting your stone usage for rolling in this event, you need to think to yourself, how much do you want to roll in the 20 magic stone Super Godfest that will be coming up soon? How many times do you want to roll in that? And budget and save accordingly. But if that being said, let me know what you think about this event in the comments down below. Do you think it's actually worth rolling in? And if you are rolling in it, how much did you roll? And did you roll anything meaningful? Regardless of all that, hopefully you all have a truly fantastic day. I wish you all the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.